I'm really going to enjoy the fact that I get to wake up every single day and I get to witness people having breakthroughs and transformations.
Hello, everybody. In today's episode of Keeping It 100, I have my good friend Julianna Sauber on with me. I'm really excited. Julianna and I met through REIN, which is a women's real estate investing mentorship. Julianna, I have her on because she is well known for her success in guiding people out of that space of fear and stress and into a state of wellness so that they can really create that dream life that they're looking for. But Juliana really loves everything real estate. That's how we met.
Yeah,
And I want to touch on too at some point your background in construction because that's really unique. A lot of women in the world, especially in real estate, we just don't have that background. But you have a really neat and intimate experience with construction, and you bring a lot of value to people in that area. So, my friends, without further ado, I'm going to let Juliana take the stage. And I'd love for you to just share with us what does this mean, right? To guide people from fear and stress into wellness. Because there's people on here, they're just here to talk about real estate.
right.
And they're like, what's this? What's this nonsense, right? But this helps entrepreneurs in real estate move from here to there so they can truly be successful. Can you give us an understanding of what that looks like? How are you working with that?
Absolutely. So, in the course of my work as a coach, starting with wellness and moving into how do we be optimally healthy, I realized that, and I'm not alone in this, stress and emotion and trauma impact our ability to make decisions. And
Right?
we may think it's the best deal out there and we're super excited about it, but we can't seem to sign on the dotted line. We can't seem to pull the trigger to invest in the thing. And so
Mm,
there are these subconscious programs that are below the surface. About 90% of it is stuff we aren't actually aware of. So we can't necessarily speak to where it came from, or how it got to be there, but it is in that program. And we know this from the work of people like Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Candace Pert. You can do a lot of research into how we get this subconscious program that runs in the background and drives our behavior.
mm,
So as investors, we meet a lot of people that they go to the workshops and the seminars and they learn all the things, and then they
yeah.
keep learning all the things, and then they keep learning more things and never
Yeah.
actually take the action it
Right.
takes to truly get there.
Yeah.
And so there can be things like fear of failure. Fear actually shuts down your energy. When you're in
Oh,
fear,
that's
regardless
interesting.
of where
Right.
it's coming from, it actually shuts down your energy. So you can get super close to that next step. And
Yeah.
they'll say push through the fear. This is a mindset thing. You have to change your mindset. The challenge is most people are operating in that 10%. That 90% that's still subconscious and below the surface is really what's driving your actual taking action, unless you can literally force yourself through fear. Now, people are doing that somatically, but they don't actually know it. And so
Oh,
when
right.
I guide people through this, we guide through the feeling into the reprogramming. And it's kind of like it's like for wow, dating myself, it's kind of like a record that's skipping, right?
Right. But I know what a record is, so we're
Right?
good.
Or that tape that keeps playing over and over and
Yeah.
over again,
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
song that you through playing in your head. And that could be things that you heard from your mom over and over and over and over again. You
Yeah.
heard in school, and somebody made fun of you and you put it in your program and you repeated it over and over and over again.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
embeds itself physically in your body.
Yeah.
And they found that, like Dr. Candace Pert found that actually creates a popped polypeptide chain and a chemical reaction in your body, which changes proteins, which can affect
Wow.
your epigenetics. So it can
Interesting.
create issues in generations. And they've done
Yes.
rat studies, like they've done all kinds of other things. So it's maybe not even yours. We talk about our parents and their belief systems and how they impact us. Well,
Yes.
their parents impacted you, and their parents impact you.
Yes. Yes. The
Yeah.
fact that you brought up the generational change, I think that's so important. And we don't talk about that enough or not the change, right? But how that DNA that was traumatized, so to speak, in your parents, right? From their parents, that truly lives within your cells and it is passed on. My last guest on here, Carol Benson, similarly to you, like she dives really deep into this stuff as well. And we talked about that if you don't make it a point in your life right now to figure this shit out and
Yeah.
change it, you will pass it on to your kids. And if they don't do something about it, they're going to pass it on to your kids. And now we both have kids, so we've already passed it on to them. But by changing ourselves, I feel strongly that we can really show them and teach them how to change it. And then the hope is when if they have children, um, the piece of that being stuck and people say, "Oh, just push through," right?
Yeah.
That's really hard. You and I are blessed to have a personality in which we will figure out how to push through. If people know, if they've been watching me, I lost my home in a wildfire. And, through that process, people are like, oh my gosh, like, how did you even wake up in the morning and like take the next step? I have that innately in me, and I'm
Yeah.
grateful for that. I didn't
Sure.
know that till I was older. I used to have very little patience for people that didn't seem to have that until
Yeah.
I got older and I realized, oh, you're really lucky. Like that is quite a gift. But
Yeah.
not everybody has that. And so fear is like a just a brick wall.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like you said, that analysis paralysis, right? People are
Right.
just doing all the things and they just can't get to the other side.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
really the key to that is feeling your way through it, which can be really scary when you do it the first few times. That's why it might be good to work with someone like myself, and there are
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
who do it, is we're going to hold you in a safe space. We'll create a safe space for you to
Okay.
walk into that and feel it.
Okay.
Let it flood your body, let the tears come, let the body shake, because
Yep.
actually the body shaking is the nervous system resetting itself.
Ooh, okay.
That's huge, and we
Yep.
tend to suppress it. We're like, I can't deal with this right now.
Yes.
I'll avoid
Shove it
it,
down there.
shove it down in a box. And I love to use this analogy. It's like shoving a cat in a box. If you ever shoved a cat in a box, it eventually will like scratch and destroy the box to get its way out.
Yes.
That shows up in our lives in difficult ways, right? It can show up as we blow up a relationship because we haven't dealt with these subconscious emotional issues. We
Yeah.
have a great deal or a great partnership or someone we could work with, but we ruin that relationship subconsciously because our fear is saying, I might actually be successful. This
Yeah.
might actually work. And then
Right.
we have to face what's in there and kind of bubbling and boiling under the surface. But if we walk into it and we feel it, we
Yeah.
actually let ourselves feel it, that's when it has a chance to like the body will do this cool thing where it brings it up and it makes it stronger. And it might get stronger and stronger and
Yeah.
stronger. And we feel it in all these different parts of our body and tears
Yeah.
come up and everything else. As long as we let that go, there is this, it's like a wave, there's a crescendo. We hit a certain point and then
Yep.
it releases. And then we take a big deep sigh, right?
Yeah.
And it could take a few times of doing that,
Yeah.
but it's the avoidance that keeps it down versus
Right.
the allowing that lets it go.
Okay, that makes sense. Right. You
Hmm.
touched on something I really wanted to talk about is the feeling.
Hmm.
One of the things that I've learned, I'm a big fan of Bob Proctor and Joe Dispenza and of course Tony Robbins, right? And
Sure.
but one of the big things that Bob Proctor, really talks about and connected with, and I think it goes back to, the Think and Grow Rich book is really was tremendous in my shift along with Bob Proctor, who kind of works with that. But it's about the feeling. So I
Yeah,
can journal every day and I can talk all about here's my goals and I can visualize what it looks like, but you have to put feeling to it. Until
absolutely.
you attach feeling to the vision, the dream, it doesn't jive. Like it's they have to come together. So will you speak a little
Yeah,
bit more about that? Because I think more people need to understand that connecting to the feeling. And a lot of times it's really scary. Like even my wildest dreams, getting there and feeling being there can be really scary because they're big. And part of it is serving other people. And part of it is having you know, a successful business that has other people working for and with me, that I'm now
Yeah.
responsible for their financial health and well-being, right? So that's scary. Like I can feel like, so I'm going to be quiet now and I want you to talk about the importance of the feeling piece of it just a little bit more.
Yeah, it's absolutely important. I love to use this analogy of like clearing out a room because you want to paint it. If you hate the color of a room, let's just say that is the representation of that big dream
Yeah.
is what's in that room. And the current color of that room is this hideous green. And you're like, I've got to paint it, but it's full of boxes, right? All those boxes can represent beliefs and emotions that stand in the way of you getting to the point of that big dream.
Mm.
So we walk through some of these things. I've heard these references of, we don't fear failure, we actually fear success.
Oh,
You
yes.
have to address,
Absolutely.
why do we fear success? Have you been told you shouldn't fail because if you're a failure, you're stupid or you're an idiot or you did
Yep.
it again or you're ashamed, etc. We have to deal with those feelings and emotions. We have to deal with the fear that comes along with risk of loss, right?
Yeah.
You
Huge,
have to
especially
deal
in
with
real
these.
estate.
Absolutely. And the more you deal with those fears and you clear them out in these belief systems, the more clarity you get around, you know what? That room would feel amazing in purple. That purple represents this dream vision you've got. Like my dream vision of Terrawin,
Yeah.
represented by a whole lot of colors. But for me to get there, I had to pull out these fears and extract this fear of being seen, fear of being
Right.
praised for actually doing what I want to do, fear
Yeah.
of people judging me because they don't agree with my vision. You've got to get through all those feelings and emotions. And the more you become resilient, because you do
Mhm.
become resilient by extracting all this
Right.
negative, yucky, gooey,
Yes.
it's like cleaning slime off something. Like you have to clear that slime. And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
chance to be like, oh, I really like this idea and I can get
Yeah.
into it and I think I can enjoy it. Well, how would I enjoy it? And when you get into the how would I enjoy it is when
Yeah.
you start to connect with the emotions that you're
That's
going to
it.
feel when you
That's it.
achieve that. But you
Yes.
got to clear all this clutter out. And when you feel that, like, I'm really going to enjoy the fact that I get to wake up every single day and I get to witness people having breakthroughs and transformations. I get to witness people achieving what they've always wanted to do, stepping into their truth, stepping into their authenticity. That for me is what is driving me into Tarot, which I thought, and people don't necessarily know what Terrawin is, but this is
We're
my
going to
vision
talk about it
for,
though.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is my vision for a multi-site glamping wellness retreat center with spa. And it
Yeah.
started out like, I'm going to buy a few acres and I'll put up a couple of cabins and I'll put up a sauna. That was
I
where I
think when I
started.
first met you, right, it was you were just, I think, getting into like starting to step into the bigger version of that, right?
Absolutely. And right now I'm working on funding a $3.5 million piece of property and a $2.5 million investment because I went through the pieces of what I just talked about,
Yeah.
risk of loss, fear of being seen, fear of
Yeah.
getting the praise that comes along with you did it. You did it,
That's
right?
a big, big thing. I hear I feel it myself.
Yeah.
I had an experience several months back at an event, and I had just sort of got some accolades publicly. I show up at the event, and people are like following me, right? I even had this lovely woman follow me into the restroom and stood outside of the stall to like finish the conversation. And I really struggled with that, right? I had to work really hard to step into that and to
Yeah.
feel comfortable with that in my body because
Right.
it made me physically feel sick.
Yeah.
I literally felt so uncomfortable and nauseous, and I was like, this is horrible. I hate this. But I
Mm.
had somebody come up to me, my good friend Pace Morby. I'm just so grateful for this man. And he said to me, Tracy, these people see in you what they need you to be. And you need to step into that. You have to receive it. You have to be grateful for that because they're the ones driving you to where you need to be. They're telling you,
Yeah.
Tracy, we need you to teach us how to be, to teach us how to do these things. We need you to show up and be positive and bring motivation. And so that's a really hard thing. And I'm confident that Terrawin is going to just explode because it has all of your passions. It has your passion for serving people, your
Yeah.
passion of real estate, your passion of construction.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit more about that dream because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it started out like 10 years ago, and then I wanted to open a wellness or a retreat center because I recognize that immersion is hugely beneficial. That's why we go to conferences.
Sure. Yeah.
And so we get to meet like-minded people, we get to experience things, we get big growth in an immersion.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you can do 5 years worth of growth in a weekend if you do the right immersion retreat.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
I also work in wellness. I overcame an autoimmune condition through natural means. I'm
Right.
100% natural in my
That's
life
right.
today. I feel amazing. I was almost disabled when I first started this journey.
Crazy.
So I want that for other people. I really want that opportunity. And when I hear stories like Joe Dispenza, he's got an amazing team and they do
Oh my
incredible
God.
work. You know,
Yeah.
these transformational experiences and stories. I want to experience that. And I want people to experience that.
Yeah.
So Carowin was birthed from that. But then as I was getting into real estate, I learned about glamping. And most people do and Airbnb, and most people
Yeah.
do one-off Airbnbs or they do one cabin or treehouse in there, and
Yeah. Yeah.
which is fantastic.
Yeah.
However, it's not a business model.
Correct.
And
Not
I want a
scalable
business
and
model. And I
yeah.
wanted something. So I thought, okay, so I have this wellness retreat center. I need people to come. They're going to come for the weekend. They need a place to stay. Why would I book
Yes.
them in a hotel if I can have cabins for them to stay in, or I
That's
can
right.
have bunk houses or whatever?
Yeah.
Yurts, we've got these really cool domes we're going to build, etc. So combining those two together, and then this piece of property that we're working on pulling together to buy would also have a regenerative farm and orchard. So
Oh
it's
my
going to
God.
have food growing production on it. We'll have some animals, you know. So if you want to see a Highland cow, we're going to have fluffy Highland cows and llamas and chickens and
Oh yeah.
goats and all kinds of fun stuff. There's this cute little sheep from England that's this little like puff ball.
Oh
I'm
my
like, I
God.
gotta have those little sheep. They're so cute. And they
And you'll
mow.
probably have like the bantam chickens, like the cutie little
The ones with
fluffy
the
ones.
fluffy feet.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to have all of that in this one collective piece, and it's along a river. So there's the
Oh
water. You know, you
gosh.
get to sit in the water. We'll create all these cool places. I could
That's
go on and
awesome.
on forever. Um,
Yeah. I love it
that
though. This is
marries together
amazing.
those pieces of it. And I've been a licensed builder in Michigan since 2007. My husband and I have had our own business since 2001. He's the contractor. Like he can do anything. He's really quite
Amazing.
incredible at what he does.
That's so amazing.
Yeah, he's very, very talented. So I've always run the front end of the business, the
Yeah.
marketing, the accounting, and this, that, and the other thing, and some design, and then
Yeah.
he
Ooh,
makes it happen.
I love
So
that.
I learned a lot along the way. I have a manufacturing years in manufacturing and corporate management prior, well, in
Mm.
conjunction with construction, but then I moved into construction full time. I've had a wellness practice where I guided people and saw clients one-on-one. I'm moving more towards a group type model where I can impact more people.
Oh,
Uh,
sure, sure.
and we heal in groups so much faster.
Yeah, we really do because I mean, we can really build off of each other's energy and momentum. One of the things I love about you building lodging on the retreat center is goes to this point. You get to continue that exchange of energy, that exchange of the conversation, the feeling, the camaraderie beyond the day of work that you're doing, right? And you're going to meet special people at these retreats that you will know for the rest of your life, and
Yeah,
you will transform together. And to have that time outside, that's why at conferences they have them at hotels, and ideally you're going to stay at the hotel because you're going to spend time after. So
sure.
to have a retreat, you're in nature, which,
Yeah,
as we know, if you guys, if you're watching this and you don't spend time in nature, at a minimum, you need to take 20 minutes a day, get outside and take a walk. You
Yeah.
have to get in nature. Not, you don't listen to a podcast, like just actually hang out with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, get out there, right?
Right.
Take a minute to feel the air, to,
Yeah.
feel the sun on your face. So you're in nature, you're
Hmm.
with people, you're communing, you're staying right there. I'm sure you're going to take the food that you grow and it's probably going to be part of like the food that you're cooking. I mean, I'm so excited to be one of your first guests.
Calling in.
This is just I'm so excited for you. Um, Share with us, if you will, because you're like me, we're very vulnerable. We know that our vulnerability will help people. And you talked about your own challenges, right? That you had to get through. What do you think was one of the biggest things holding you back that you had to work through so that you could step into where you are today?
Um, the one thing that comes to mind the strongest is fear of judgment.
Mm,
Um,
okay. Yeah.
yeah. That fear of judgment led me to always be afraid that someone would be mad at me. I became an incredible people pleaser. Um, when people would be mad, whether they were mad at me or mad at the television or mad at whatever, I would immediately clench.
Okay.
And then and what I know about the nervous system without going into the big long thing, which I've got a program that teaches people this, but without going into the big long thing, when the nervous system senses danger, and it doesn't matter if it's you being chased by a bear or you concerned about someone yelling next to you, there's these systematic changes that happen, including digestion slows down.
Oh,
I always talk
interesting.
about gut healing, but we
Yeah.
don't always talk about the fact that when you're stressed in a chronic state of fight flight, your digestion's like, I don't need to digest food. I'm worried about survival. And
Yeah.
so we have lots of people with chronic digestive issues that if we manage the stress and we
Yeah.
eliminate some sources of stress, they'll see a dramatic improvement. You talk about staying out in nature for 20 minutes. When I first started healing my nervous system from chronic stress and judgment and shame,
Yeah.
I couldn't spend 2 minutes out in quiet,
Right.
less
Good point.
20.
Good point. I'm
So,
glad you bring that up. Right. As
yeah,
I said 20, I thought, maybe it's five. Like if you, 'cause if you don't get up and take a walk, if you don't go out in nature, if you don't absorb that, that's a
yeah,
really good point. Right.
yeah.
Just that calmness and quiet is hard.
It can be.
Can be hard.
And it's a good measure of where your nervous system is right now, is if you
Ooh.
cannot be anywhere where there's quiet, then you've got nervous system challenges and you potentially have trauma that's trying to come up and be dealt with in the quiet. But
Ah.
because you avoid that quiet, you don't ever deal with it. So you
Oh,
just
yeah,
like out of the
that makes
box and
sense.
go turn the TV on.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. That's a good thing for people to hear right there is
Yeah,
if you are unable to sit or it's so uncomfortable to sit in the quiet, that's
yeah,
a really good reminder that you've got some work to do. You have to be able to sit in quiet. You have to be able to resonate on the things you're grateful for, the
yeah,
vision that you have for the future. And you have to be able to sit in quiet. That's very interesting. I think there's so many fears that we have. And until I was in education and I became an expert in my field, right? And so I was like, I'm good, like no one's really questioning me. But
yeah,
I was a pleaser like you, a big, big pleaser. And it's interesting that how you just said that. And it never really clicked until just now. I could be in a room, somebody gets angry, has nothing to do with me, but
right,
I can literally feel myself in a panic of how
mm,
can I help them? How can I make this all better? Because I
yeah,
don't want to see people suffer. I
right,
don't, and I sure don't want them to turn around and find a reason that it's my fault. Like,
yeah,
you know,
right,
that's so interesting. And that is very true. I had
yeah,
to really work through I'm sure you know Mel Robbins,
yeah.
and she's got a really cool new book out called Let Them, the Let Them
Let them,
Theory.
yeah, mhm,
And I think some of us that have been doing this work, we've been doing that already. And I love that she brought that to the masses because that's what I had to do. I had to really work hard, and I still do. My automatic reaction still is, and I'm like, hold on, that is not your deal. That is nothing to do with you. And frankly, if they're mad at me, yes, I'm going to take time, resonate on, maybe I do have a part in this, and if so, how can I step up, make it
Right.
right?
Right.
99.9% of the time, it is nothing to do with me.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
hardest place to let go, is that
Right.
one. Is like, I know you're mad at me, but I know it's not about me because I've gone back through this whole scenario. That's when the let them theory comes in. Is like,
Absolutely.
it's okay.
Yeah, I want to add this element. Most of these emotional reactions have formed before age 7.
Wow. Before age 7.
Yes.
Wow.
We are little sponges before that point in time. We don't have our own independent personality. And before we hit, I'm going to call it 23, 24,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
really don't have a whole lot of critical reasoning skills. Some do,
Sure.
most don't.
Yeah.
And so you just respond to the environment you're in. If you had a parent who was an outburster, who
Yeah.
like yelled a lot, regardless of
Yeah.
why they yelled, maybe they were just
Yeah.
loud.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just loud, right?
Yeah.
You're not a loud type personality, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, loud person, loud person, loud person.
Oh, so
And it may
interesting.
be the best person you need to work with, but you're not going to work with them because they're a loud person. And you don't even know why. I
Yeah.
had a fear
Yeah.
of men with beards. I did not know why, but I realized that I was inappropriately touched at age 3 as
Yeah.
I was doing my work by a man with a beard.
See, look at that. Isn't
I,
that,
yeah.
wow.
And my husband had a mustache when I met him, and I was like, I really want him to shave that off.
You're like, I really like you, but that needs to go.
Go. Yeah.
That is classic.
Hmm.
So much. I want to touch on a couple more things that
Okay.
are not related to this, but I want to have you back on. It would be really cool to dive deeper
Yeah.
and get into some more of the technical for the people that are interested in the technical, because there are people that they they get what we're talking about. There's going to be some people watching this that is like, whoa, this
Right.
is crazy stuff. I never knew who this is. And then there's people that are like, yes, yes, yes. I
Yeah.
want to do a second one for that.
Okay.
Um, but tell us a little bit more before we have to wrap up about your real estate journey, because that's how we met. And
Hmm.
I think we really resonated when you started talking about Terwin and your wellness retreat, because I'm very much into natural remedies, and we eat really healthy and clean and all that stuff. So that's really where I was like, ooh, I need to know this lady. But tell us a little bit about your real estate journey and kind of where you're at now. You did share a little bit about where you're going with
Carolyn.
Terwin,
Yeah.
but yeah, just share with us a little bit about that, and how you kind of got through some of those, maybe some strategies, maybe, talk us about real estate, and then maybe a couple strategies that you use that kind of helped you, you know,
Yeah.
get through some of those challenges.
Absolutely. Um, so I've been around real estate my whole life. My grandmother was a broker in Indiana. She
Oh,
sold
I did not know
farms.
that. Okay.
She was a huge seller of farms and houses in Indiana, Northwest Indiana, near South Bend. And so we didn't live near them for until I was in second grade. So second to seventh grade, we lived near them. And
Okay.
I would walk to grandma's house every day, or I'd walk to the real estate office, and I would sit in the real estate office. And it was always this buzz of activity, and it was
Yes.
fun, and there was people coming and going, and they had CB radios,
Yes.
and I could call my grandma on the CB radio, and we'd go to lunch. And so there is this like really positive memory I have about being at the real estate office. My grandfather built subdivisions.
Okay.
So I was on construction sites. I was on house
Yeah.
building sites, and I thought, wow, I had no idea, right? And I've always been
Yeah.
fascinated by how things work. I love that show, like how it's made.
Oh,
So
yeah. Isn't that a great show?
yeah,
I
how do they
love
make
that too.
toothpicks, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, fast forward several years, my parents would always buy a house, do a little bit of work to it, wait until the market was peaked, and then sell it and buy another house, and kind of so they stepped up
Oh,
gradually.
yeah. You
My
grew up
dad
in
was not
this.
a big risk person. My mom would have bought and sold and flipped and done all of it. My dad was not going to
Yeah.
do it. He was much
Okay.
more risk averse. So they didn't do like he had an opportunity to do an investment in Birmingham, Michigan prior to the big, we call it the McMansion growth in that area. They bought
Yeah.
these houses, tore them down, built a big house. He
Right.
could have been part of that, but he refused to do the investment.
Oh my gosh.
So fast forward, my mom, as my dad retires, they move back to Indiana and she takes over the real estate office. And she's telling me about deals and it was kind of fun. And I thought,
All
well, that'd be
the
interesting, but I wasn't in that space yet. But I always wanted my husband to flip houses. Well, he wouldn't do it. He was working too hard. He had enough to do. We ended up, after Hurricane Ian, we ended up selling our house in Michigan, which we had built. We built this house. We doubled our investment on that house.
wow.
We made big money on that one for us.
Wow.
It was most I've ever made, right? And we moved to Florida and we bought three houses in this community. We flipped two. We still have one that we're going to convert to a rental because of
Oh,
the
nice. I
market.
didn't know that.
Yeah, because of the market. We're going to
Yeah.
convert it to a rental. So we're still going it's still going to pay for itself and we're still going to have some income off of it. So, hey, I'll take that. Uh
Yeah.
we're- our we have done renovations, we've built houses, we've
Oh, I
done
bet. Right. You've done the
additions, et
whole
cetera, et cetera.
thing.
And I love the design element of it. I love the
I could see that.
transformation. I talk about
Yeah.
painting a room from ugly green to beautiful purple. Like,
I know. I
that's
love that.
that's
That's
so
my
fun.
favorite thing. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tile shopping is like I'm a happy girl when I'm tile shopping. I just love it. I think it's so much fun to pull those creative
All the
juices.
colors. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have explored a lot of different types of construction and real estate investing combined. We flipped a few houses and we're actually looking for houses to flip. We're going to be in Cookeville, Tennessee. So we're looking for
Ooh,
houses
okay.
to flip, but for the purpose of co-living. I
Yeah.
don't want to be a landlord unless it's co-living,
Yep.
right?
I love that.
And I'm
Yes.
following the trend, if you will,
Yeah.
recognizing that in this market, single family rentals, unless you've owned them for a few years, are not profitable.
No, no. And I
Unless
mean,
you
that's
can,
all I do right now is co-living for those, for that reason. And I mean, we're making such a big impact on the housing crisis, right? If I can put
absolutely.
6 people in a home versus two,
Yeah.
we have to do that. I love that. Yeah, co-living
Yeah.
is just you have to. If I always say if every real estate investor had just one co-living property in their portfolio, we could
Yeah.
truly make a massive dent on the housing crisis.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing a lot of that. I mean, we have a 23-year-old son who's like, Mom, I can't afford an apartment. What do I do?
I know. I
So
know I
we
have
have,
an 18-year-old going off to college and I think, what is it going to look like in 4 years when she graduates? I mean, she'll have debt. I mean,
yeah,
hopefully mom will pay for most of it, but she'll probably have a little bit of debt.
sure.
And what do you do? Where do you go? Like, will she even be able to get a job? I mean, luckily her focus is marine biology. And as we continue to kill the oceans, she's guaranteed to have a
Oh,
job.
right.
But so many kids are going to graduate. There's not even a job for them.
No, we really need skilled trades. This is my plug for skilled trades. I tell
Yes,
you, you can make $100 an hour as a plumber.
100%.
You
The
can make a
challenge
hundred
is
bucks an
like,
hour as a plumber. Like,
where do you go to learn how to be a plumber? And that's the problem. We've got rid of all the vocational programs. So kids really somebody has to, in my opinion, they either have to know somebody in the trades or somebody along the way has to say, you know what, kiddo, you would be really good at this because you're hands-on and you're this and you're that and you have these skills, and then help get them to somebody that's doing the work, right?
if somebody really wants to be a plumber, an electrician, HVAC,
Yeah,
welder, we need all of those.
yes,
There are three places I'd start to look. There
yeah,
are technical colleges that are popping up.
true.
So look for a technical college. Now, that's not my preferred route, to be candid with you.
Yeah,
Um, there's a few reasons for that. One is that if you think you want to be a plumber and you go through school and you get into plumbing and find out you hate it, that's a long way to go.
yeah, yeah, that's
But
such a great point.
there are plumbers who will take on apprentices and need them.
That's a good point.
So
Yeah,
find a company that takes on apprentices and become an apprentice.
that's
They may
perfect.
ask you to take some classes at the local school, but do that. I mean, do
Yeah,
what you've got to do to get there. The other thing is if you've got a plumbers union somewhere in your region,
yes,
find out when they only do testing once a year. find out when they're doing their testing, and you can actually take, there's all kinds of study guides online, et cetera, et cetera. Find a local union plumber. There's usually a list of them at the union hall, and call 10 of them until one says, come with me to work, or I'll tell you what you need to know, pass the test. Find your
Wow.
way to do that, because when you get into those apprenticeship programs, they'll take you all through all the hours of experience you need. They'll pay you while you're learning. You can then leave and get your license and go on your own, or be a residential plumber or commercial plumber, whatever.
Yep.
You can continue with them. And after 8 years, you have a journeyman's license, and that is the ticket to go anywhere you want globally. You can be a plumber anywhere in the world,
Oh
or
my gosh.
electrician or whatever. Now, electricity in other countries slightly different, but the
A little different.
concepts of electricity are the same, right?
Sure.
Be careful of 220. One of the big
Yeah.
ones. So the way there are two
Yeah.
big paths. Now, Mike Rowe has a scholarship program to help people get money to get into these trades. Um, there are schools, like I said, technical schools, and there are more and more in community colleges. So contact your local
Yeah.
community college and find a way in. They think that we're going to need 300,000 welders, 100,000 electricians, and 80,000 plumbers in the next 5 years.
Well, I mean, like you would have to, because if we continue to grow our population in the United States at the current rate we are, one, we're going to run out of food. Okay, that's a whole different conversation we could have. But
Need
two,
regional food. But anyway,
regional food, yeah.
yeah,
But where are we housing people? So every little bit of land is starting to be developed. And already, if I wanted anytime before I buy anything, that's why I like to stick to certain areas. You have to have a crew because it's impossible. You can't buy a house and think you're going to renovate it and then try to find help,
right.
because there's no help out there. All right. That's a whole, I love that you plugged this. This is so, so, so important. We could talk all day. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh, I love this. So I hope I can have you back.
yes, love to.
Um, I'm going to just wrap us up because I want to make sure I like to keep on track with time so that our viewers, they know Tracy's going to stop on time. I'm not going to be here for 2 hours, even though they know
Right.
I could stay. Um, I really appreciate the people that tuned in. I'm so grateful for people tuning in. I really hope that today's episode not only motivated and inspired you, but it really educated you on the importance of moving the things inside of us that, for lack of better terms, we're stuck on, right? Just getting that stuff out. Julianne, I am so grateful that you took the time. You are a very busy woman. You've got a lot going on. So, really appreciate your time.
Thank you
How
for
can
having
people find you?
me.
What is the best way for them to reach you?
I'm on all of the major socials. That's probably an easy way to get a hold of me.
Perfect.
And then there's contact information through that.
Okay,
I
super.
just am in the process of revamping my website, so that's not an active space. But
Yep.
find me on the socials. So I'm Julianna Denny Sauber, or Julianna Woven Light is my handle on Instagram and TikTok.
Okay. Okay. I
Mhm.
love that. And of course, people, if you can't for some reason find Juliana, you can reach out to me. I'm at Tracy Koa. All of my social media handles, you can reach out to me. I do hope today, what I love to ask people is, after you've watched my episode, take a minute to reflect on the episode and just think about, what are one of the insights or stories that really resonated with you, and how can you apply that in your own life? I think in today's episode, there's a million pieces you could pull away. I know I'm going to go back and rewatch this so that I can kind of take some notes. I always think that as I'm interviewing, I'm like, I want to take notes. Oh, wait, you can go back and watch it.
Right.
Guys, I ask you to please connect with us. We would both love to hear your thoughts, your
Yeah.
ideas, and how we inspired you today. So please reach out to us. Of course, share with everybody. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would love for you to do that. And come on back, keep watching, and everybody have an amazing day. Thank you. Thanks again, Juliana. I appreciate you.
Thank you.